Hello everyone, Argsy here. The Christmas releases of mods for Farming Simulator 25 just got a whole lot better. As if getting Courseplay the day before Christmas wasn't enough, we've now gone and got the first version of Autodrive for FS25 being released here. Well, it's Boxing Day in New Zealand, but probably Christmas Day around the rest of the world. So very excited to dive in and take a quick look at how it's all working, see if it's changed much between FS22 and FS25. Reading through the GitHub, through the release of it, doesn't seem like much has changed. So we're just going to dive in, have a very brief and quick basic look at it and see how it's all working. But before we do that, let's take a look at where you can find this to download it. So very similar to the Courseplay download, this is on GitHub as well, github.com/Steven-S/FS25_Autodrive. And you can see that link up there. We'll put it on the screen, and once more we will have a link down there in the video description to download it from. Again, you can come through here on the right hand side. You've got the option there to download the release. That will take you into here, and you've got the FS25_Autodrive.zip, which is your mod folder. You can also do it through here, FS25 version of the Autodrive mod, and click on it, and that will direct download you as well. And see, there we go, that's just started and downloaded there. So there it is, that is it in all its glory. If we just have a quick look here at release 3.000 and the release notes, you can see it is based on the latest FS22 version, so we should see it being very similar to what we're familiar with. May still contain errors as Giants has changed a lot in the background. So once again, like we said with Courseplay, it is a development version, so do make sure you can report any errors, and that's exactly what Steven said there. And then if errors or problems occur, please report them as an issue on GitHub. So there we go, you've got the issues tab up the top here. Go through and you can go through and report an issue and help make things a whole lot better. But that's how you find it, FS25_Autodrive, Steven-S there. So link in the description for you to go and download it from. But let's jump back into the game and we'll go and see how it all works. So back here in the game, we're going to go and hop into the 850. Now, at the moment, there's nothing on the screen which shows us anything relating to Autodrive. And once we jump here into the ape, you'll also see there's nothing there. Now, the default keybinds when you first load Autodrive is Alt and 0 on your numpad. So obviously, if you don't have a keypad with the numpad, you might be a little bit stuffed with that. You can go through, though, and change the keybinds. So that brings us up this little box here, which we will go through in just a little bit more detail in just a second. But like I said, you can go through and customize some keybinds. So we come in here into our settings, controls, and scroll again all the way down, and near the bottom you'll find there we've got all our options here for Autodrive. So there is quite a few different commands in here where you can configure keybinds to it. We've got the one here, toggle HUD is what you need to be able to bring it up. So if you don't have a keypad on your a numpad on your keyboard, you can come in through here and configure that to whichever button you want to make it. But there we go. By default, it is Alt and keypad 0. So this is the main brains for Autodrive. Now, before we get into looking at that, one of the ways I think of Autodrive and try and explain it to people who are not familiar with it is think of creating a path that is a rail track, a railroad. A train can only go in one direction or two directions, or can only follow a path. It can't deviate from it unless there is a junction, a change point that the trains can change from one path to another. That's basically essentially what Autodrive is. You're drawing a path that will follow a road through a yard to a point of interest where you want to have something delivered, sold, picked up, whatever it might be. So that's kind of how I look at Autodrive, how it works, and how you might want to use it. That is, I guess, the crux for it. There's a few little minor differences to that, particularly if you're using it to unload combines and chasing combines around in the field, but we might get to that in a little bit more detail later. But for all intents and purposes, if you treat it like a railroad, that is kind of how it's going to work. Now, just having a quick look here at the HUD, very simply, you've got a button here where you can integrate Courseplay and Autodrive. So that would be if you wanted to drive a tractor to a field and have it automatically start a predefined Courseplay route when it gets there, there's something you can do there with that. We've got a setting here where you can increase or decrease the speed of the equipment in the field. So the combine there is its sort of harvesting speed, so if you wanted to do something a little bit slower or work in the field slower, so a grain cart again would be a good example of that. You can change that. Your field speed here, or your road speed, is this one down the bottom. So again, if you wanted to change your speed on the roads, you can go through and adjust that. We've got a settings tab, which we'll look at in just a minute. We've got a start or stop button there, so once you're ready to follow your Autodrive route, you can turn that on. This one toggles through the different modes. So we've got our drive, pick up and deliver, just deliver. We've got a load option, unload combines, and then back to drive. So those are the main options there. This one continues. This would be if you get to a waypoint and it stops and you want it to carry on, go to the next one without finishing the task it's assigned to do. You can click on that. If you've predefined parking spaces for your equipment and you want it to go to park at that spot, you can press park, it'll follow the route. If you're running a loop, let's say a load and deliver route, then you can specify how many times it will run that course, right up to 99, or you leave it set there on infinity. So again, it depends on what you want to do. And then the button here is for your edit mode, which is what you use to go through and create your paths, create your Autodrive route. So that is that's the function of that. We click on that, you can see we now get an option here to record a path. You can save your path. You can add in targets or waypoints. You can add, or not waypoints, but labels for locations, points of interest. You can delete waypoints, unnecessary waypoints, and you can also edit a selected target. So again, if you've got a named target, you can go through and rename that or change what it is. Jumping here into the settings, again, I'm not going to go through these because they are vast and numerous, but they do have some pretty helpful hints there next to each of them as you go through and look. And it will vary as well depending on your vehicle. So something that's not a trailer or a truck like we are here, which has a backwards capacity, won't actually give you a pipe offset option on it there. But there's a whole lot of different things there that you can adjust. There's some user settings. The one I'm going to change here is the height of the markers. So we're going to line height here, we're going to just change that to above tractor just so it's a bit more visible as we're going through and adjusting things. You can bump up the scale. There's just a whole lot of things here you can go through and adjust. We've got some settings for Autodrive, which you might want to tweak just as depending on how things work. You can adjust some things through there. Driver wages, whether you pay your drivers up to 1,000 or right down to 0. It's entirely up to you. Things around collision detection, there's a whole lot of different things there that you go through and change. Non-functional settings there, whether you want to run with beacon lights when they're on, whether work lights should be on or not, those kind of things. And then there's some debug settings there down the bottom. So we're not going to go through and change any of those for the purpose of this, except for that one that we did change. So we'll just hit apply. And now we're going to get into taking a look at exactly how to set up a course. Now this is going to be a very simple, basic course. We're not going to get too carried away with what we're going to do here. It's just a kind of an explanation for anyone who's not familiar with Autodrive, exactly how it works. If you've used Autodrive before, this should be pretty rudimentary and basic for you. So let's jump in here. I want to create a course which drives us out here, runs us past the silo. We'll create a waypoint for the silo, then we're going to head on up, go around the back of the house, up into the top of the yard, and then we'll come back down the ramp here, and that will be the end of our loop. So I'm going to come into here at the edit mode, and then we're just going to start recording. So as you can see, the waypoint marker is very nice and high, nice and visible when we're doing this. We could have had it lower, but we've done it this way. And basically as we drive, we're going to get a waypoint drop each time we turn, or if we're just running straight, then it will give you some bigger spacings between your waypoints. We're going to get into here, also adjust to your speed you're driving, head across the dump point, and we're just going to head on back out this way. Now I'm kind of hoping I'm driving on the right side of the road here. I can't remember what side of the road the traffic's on. Now one thing, just as I remind myself, when you've got the cursor up here, the middle mouse button will change between having the cursor or not. So if you've got the cursor, you can't actually change your look angle. When you've got the cursor turned off, you can. So bear that in mind. If it disappears, that's why. Sneak in front of that vehicle. Now I'm going to come up into here, into our main yard. I'm going to create our first marker or waypoint or target. I'm just going to get this next waypoint to trigger. There it is. Right. You can come down here into create or edit target, and we're going to call this one main yard. Very simply, you can see there, this now has the sort of target marker on top and also the name of it down the bottom. We're still in record, so we can carry on down the hill. Squeak down the ramp here, and we're going to go over and get our course or our loop finished. Now there is settings to auto attach and auto to the endpoint once you get close to it, but we're just going to stop there. And I don't have that enabled at the moment, so we've stopped on record. We can come and click on this node, the blue node, and click on that one. You can see that has created a green line that's going between. Now it's important you click in the direction you want it to run. If I did it the other way, like that, it's actually created a two-way road, and if I do it again that way, it'll prove me wrong. It's going to disappear, but we make that disappear again, click on this one and go that way, and the arrow is now pointing the wrong way. So this wouldn't actually work as a course. You do need to have it facing in exactly the right direction. So there is our loop. We've got it going the whole way around. We've turned record off, just make sure of that before we drive forward any further. I'm just going to sneak up here again. I'm going to come up and we're going to label this here as our main farm silo. Farm silo as our node point. So there we go. Now if we click on the drop down, you can see those two places are both labeled there. Now there's a whole lot more we can do with folders, and there's tips and tricks when you're trying to unload it into a silo as to where exactly you put that waypoint. It should actually be a bit further forward. I'm just doing this as a very basic proof of concept. So now we've done that, we're going to stay here on this drive mode. We're going to click main yard and press go, and we can just watch along here as our 8 will follow along. It does cut the corner a little bit, it sort of eases off that corner a touch, so it's very important what equipment you pick. Be mindful of what you're going to be using on the farm and make sure that you give it enough swing. So if you're running tandem trailers or big long trucks and things like that, make sure you use those when you're recording it, or at least factor that in when you are in the course. Now it is possible to come in here and drag the waypoints around, so if you did need to ease the corner out a little bit further, you can come, and that's clicking on the when they're blue, using my right mouse button and then dragging them. So you can go through and do things like that. Now we can go through now. I'm going to hit farm silo, and this will carry on driving down, following that course, and head on over to the farm silo. Bit of a link there coming off the yard up the top. So that's that. Now one thing that you can come through here and change, and one I like changing all the time, is our corner speed. Bump that right down, because as you could see, as it was going around some of those corners, and what we might do is send it off to the farm silo again and get it to do that loop, get away from that waypoint. We'll drive around that loop again. No, it's going to get there as quickly as possible. Proved me wrong. Right, let's just see if we can get that to run the farm silo course again. A couple of waypoints beyond. Here we go. So we should see with that corner speed adjusted, it might slow down a little bit more going into these corners and just be a little bit more stable. I have had trucks and equipment in the past have issues when it tries to go too fast around corners, so definitely a worthy one to try and tweak to slow down. There we go. It's going to make its way around here. Definitely going a lot slower through here this time than it was previously. Incredibly noticeable as it comes down the ramp here and turns left. Yeah, definitely much slower, much more stable. So yeah, one of the settings that I do like to tweak. So I guess it doesn't take into account traffic. I guess that's one of the that's a pretty basic and rudimentary rundown on Autodrive and how it works. Like I said before, it can work in with Courseplay. There's a whole lot of different features and settings we can do. We went through them before, but one I like using quite often is the combine, unload combine. So you can run a grain cart on the edge of the field, which will automatically unload your combines, and you can have a truck paired with that sits on the side of the field and will automatically run to your farm silo. You can do it for silage, so you could have silage wagons which get to the edge of the field, then they'll run and dump out in the bunker, and then they will run back again. So I think there's certainly a whole lot of tutorials, and I think it'll be easy to break those down into specific examples to show you how they all work. But for this one, it is pretty much proof of concept and a very brief overview of how Autodrive works. So hope you found that useful, hope you found that informative. Keep an eye out in the coming times as Autodrive does become more stable and Courseplay becomes more stable for some more tutorials on exactly how to use each and every one of those, and looking at some of the more complicated features that you might want to explore. But the one piece of advice I can offer is treat it like it is a railroad. It can't go anywhere other than this green line, so bear that in mind when you're creating your courses and give it some planning. I do know that there's people out there who will create networks. You can download them, you can share them with friends, you can add them into your save game quite easily. So once again, that might be something we take a look at too in the future. But there we go, Autodrive is out for Farming Simulator 25. Get it from the GitHub, link is in the description. Make sure if you find any issues, errors or bugs that you do report it to them and give them the chance to get it fixed. But like I said, hope you found that useful, hope you found it informative. Thank you all very much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.